Hey everyone, and welcome to Vibeship Club. And in today's video we are going to build a blog for Vibeship Club. So it is going to be on blog.vibeship.club. So this particular website that I have built is for Vibe coders, but however it lacks the functionality of blog. And I don't want to add blog on this particular website, but I want to keep it on a subdomain. And for that I have couple of requirements. One thing is I want to use this particular styling only. I want to use the brand guidelines that I have created. I can show you those guidelines. So this particular is a design document where how the component should be, how the button should be, how the spaces should be, everything is written over here. And I also have a brand guidelines, like which colors are to be used, which fonts are to be used, and everything else that is required for the design. Now how to create these documents is something that I am going to show you at the end of the video, so stay tuned till the end. So coming back to our creation of blog, so the tools that we are going to use today are Cursor, and we as a tech stack I am going to use Astro, which is suitable for sites like blogs or article repository, or where a lot of static content is there. It's fast, it loads less JavaScript. If at all you are a programmer, you will understand the implications of having heavily JavaScript loaded applications versus light applications. If you are not a developer or a programmer, if you don't know what Astro is, let's just go with Astro and understand how we can use it to build our own blog in, let's say, next half an hour or so. So I'm going to now go to Cursor, and I have created a new project here. I am going to use GPT-5. I can actually switch to Composer 2 fast as well, because for certain tasks, for certain simple tasks, I don't need very complex or high-end models. I can go with simpler, cheaper models to start with. So Composer 2 is based on Kimi K2.5, I think. And so yeah, let's start using that. Before we build any rules, we build our application, I'm going to just initialize an Astro project. So I'm going to ask Cursor, let's build blog using Astro, and for that, as a first step, create an Astro project with Tailwind and TypeScript. So we are going to use both TypeScript and Tailwind to start with, and I'm just going to initiate an Astro project. That's it. I'm not going to tell it what to build, what are the features are going to be, nothing. Just I'm going to initialize this particular project, and I'm going to say initialize this in the root directory itself. Otherwise what happens is it creates a new directory and then initiates the project there. I don't want that to happen. I want it to create all the files here in the root directory itself. So initialize this in the root directory. Don't add any features or collection items at this point. Okay, so we are just going to create a simple Astro project right now. There are no features, nothing. So while we have given this prompt, it may ask you for some permissions, because it runs various commands. Like it has now asked me for a permission. Sometimes since I am using this for a long time, I know what this is. I can click run as a part of my muscle memory. But if you are new to this, I suggest you look at what command it wants to run. Mostly installation commands and where files are being moved are harmless, but when it comes to deleting the files or rewriting the whole files, I think you should see what exactly it is doing, and then depending upon the severity of the action, and if the action aligns with what you want to do, you can say yes or you can say no. Right now it is asking me whether it can install Astro. I'm going to say yes, because that's what we want to do. So I'm going to click on run. So one of the things that I'm seeing here is the agent is waiting for command line to finish, run in background. I'm going to click run in background. This is the new feature in Cursor where it can spin up multiple agents that can do tasks parallelly. Again we have got this, so again run in background. So as you can see, our files are getting created here. So now it has asked me again for certain permissions. I am going to say run because it's installing the dependencies now. This is the terminal window that will open up here. So here I am going to run command which is npm run dev, and let's see if the project has spun up. Yeah, the project is here and this is the URL. You can open it by pressing command on Mac or control on Windows and Linux and then clicking on this link. So it will open this particular link, and as you can say, this is basic, just a simple project has been scaffolded. Nothing is there, no styling, no content, no features, nothing. It's just that we have initialized the project. Now what happens while we are developing various things is we keep on adding features, we keep on changing files, but something breaks on the way, and if something breaks we have to go back. Now there is no way of going back unless and until you are keeping various backups at various stages, and keeping the backups in various folders is absolutely cumbersome, not ideal at all. So for that we are going to use another tool which is called GitHub. So in your browser just open github.com, and here you can create an account for free. How to create an account on GitHub, that is something I'm not going to share in this video. That is a very straightforward process. It's a simple registration process and nothing else. So once you are logged in, you will come across a screen like that, and here I am going to click on new to create a new repository, and I am going to call it vibeship-blog, and I am going to keep its visibility to private because it's my private project. Not that it's very complex code or something proprietary that's going on here. It's just an asset of the company, hence I am keeping it private. And if you want to keep your project open source, you have to choose visibility as public. So I am going to create the repository here now. Now it has given me certain commands that I need to run in the terminal. We'll start with git init. So I'll just copy this. I'll go to my terminal, I'll open up a new terminal here, I'll paste this and press enter. So it is saying initialize empty git repository. So now the next command, I am not going to add readme because my project already has files, so I don't want to add any other file to it. So git commit -m first commit. Sorry, one step that we forgot to do is we need to add these files to git. So for that we need to run git add space dot. I want to commit all these files to the git, so I am doing that. Although folders like node modules, dist, .astro are not being committed to git. Again, this is not video on how to use git and why these folders shouldn't be committed to git. That is part of some other video that we will do down the line. But for now, remember, we don't want to commit all files on GitHub. We just want our code base to get committed. No sensitive information, no packages like node modules, we want to push it on git. So we have added git add dot, and now I am going to run git commit -m first commit. Now the last two steps. If you are on Windows, you probably have to run git branch -M main, because by default on certain systems the branch name is master and it was changed to main about few years ago. So we have to change the branch name for master to main. So that's been done. Now I am going to add the remote source here, and the last step, I am going to push it. Now if we look at our GitHub, if I just refresh it, I can see the code base here, and the files that are being slightly faded out, they are not being committed to our GitHub account. So let me just close this GitHub now, and then let's just go back to the cursor. Now I am going to open a new chat window, because whatever was the task of the first chat is now over, and as soon as you start a new task, a new feature or something new, open a new interface. So I am going to close this. Now before we add some prompt, we need to add some logos or images that we want to use on our site. So inside public directory, I can create a new folder called images. And I am going to put my logos into that particular directory. So this is my SVG file of the logo. I am just going to drag and drop it in the images folder. Yeah, so now we have our logo in place, at least in the project directory. We are yet to configure everything. All right. So now, as the first step, before we begin a project, the first step is initialization of the project. The second part is we have to create certain rules. What happens with any AI tool is it starts losing context. You have set some coding standards, it will stop following it after a certain time. You have set certain design rules, it stops following it after a certain time. So whatever is in your mind, it adheres to it in the first go, but it stops adhering it to those particular rules as we move further down the line in our development. That is because it forgets what rules you have set. That's why tools like Cursor give us an opportunity to add persistent rules. So now we are going to add rules to this particular project. Now the rules can be related to design, the rules can be related to brand guidelines, they can be related to coding standards, they can be related to deployment strategy, they can be related to business logic. So there can be multiple rules that we can use. So I am going to now create first rules that are related to design brand guidelines. So I am now going to change the model to GPT 5.5. Yeah, and I am going to give it a context. We are going to build a blog for vibeship.club. For that, we want to create design and brand guideline rules for Cursor. Check the attached documents and prepare the rules. Now I am going to attach couple of documents, the rules that I had shown you earlier. This one, which is a design document, and the other one is a brand guideline. So I am going to attach these two files in Cursor. How am I going to do that? I have these two files here. So brand guidelines and design document. What I am going to do, I am going to just drag and drop these files here, and I am going to press enter. Now it will take some time to process these files and create the rules accordingly. Now it is asking me to create these folders. I am going to click run, and as you can see, we have now .cursor directory, under it a rules directory, and the new rule is going to be created here. Yeah, so if I can open this file, I can see these are the brand guidelines that are being created from the document that we had attached. This is another rule file that is being created, which concerns itself with UI patterns. And the third is how the motion and animation should be, motion rules. So let me close this. Now again, as a rule, you should commit whatever you have done. Now since my all three rules are created, I can actually go through these rules and change whatever I want to. Most of the times, if you attach certain documents that has the data in it, most of the times these rules are perfectly created. If not, just go through them and edit them. These are plain text documents. Now instead of running the commands of Git in terminal, I am going to ask Cursor to commit the changes. Commit the changes in Git along with the logo that I have uploaded. I am going to click enter. The files are being committed now, and if we go to GitHub, we should see all these files there, Vibeship blog, and I should see the rules here. Okay, it has just committed the rules. Let me ask it to push the commit. So there are two steps, commit and push. Commit will create a local state of Git, and pushing it will change the state on the remote as well. All right. Now I should see the rules directory here. Yeah, as I can see, dot cursor slash rules, and there should be 3 rules inside it. Let me go back to cursor. Now let me open another window, another chat interface, and here I am going to ask it to create coding standard rules. And again, I am going to give it a context. We are creating a blog for vibeship.club, and we are going to use Astro, Tailwind and TypeScript. Create the coding rules for cursor according to the best practices. It is going to create rules as far as the best practices of these tech tools are considered. We can see this particular TypeScript file is being created. Apart from that, this particular file which is related to Tailwind. Ideally, your rule file should not exceed 100 lines. If it exceeds 100 lines, then it gets slightly problematic. Now again, ideally you should check these files, see if there are any issues. Right now we are not going to check it, and as a good practice, again I am going to ask cursor to commit and push these changes. I am going to ask it to do in a single step. Alright, I am going to run this. We should now see a new rule in GitHub. Yeah, as you can see, we have new rules related to Tailwind, TypeScript. Now the next part, I am again going to open a new chat. Let me close this. Again, we are building a blog for vibeship.club, and we want to create a cursor rule for business logic and rules. So every application is going to have some business rules, some business logics that you want to apply. Now since this is a blog, there are not many rules and things that we need to follow, like this thing should disallow this particular thing, this, if this is not happening, then disallow this thing. So these kinds of rules are prevalent in any kind of application that we are building. Blog will have lesser rules, will have some nonetheless. So it is asking me a question: should the blog business logic rules always apply or only when working with specific blog files? I am going to go a safe route. I am going to say always apply across the project. So it will now create another file. Yeah. So you can see a business logic file has been added. Now what I am going to do, again commit and push changes. And if I refresh this, I should see a business rule file. Yeah, Vibeship blog business logic .mdc. Now next step, we are building a blog for vibeship.club. All the rules are in. Now I can either drag this rules directory here. I'm telling it basically all the rules are in this particular directory, or I can press add and then type rules. It will show me all the directories here. So this is how you can add the context. Now we want to build the blog that is SEO friendly, and so I am going to ask it, let's plan the development, and I am going to change this agent to now plan, because now I am going into a planning stage. If at all it requires some clarification before building the development plan. Okay. The first question is local Astro content collection, where the content should live. We are not building in CMS, or we are not going to use external API. We need local content. The URL structure should be, should the blog use /blog for index and blog, use /blog for index. I am going to tell it use slash as blog index and /slug for individual articles. I am going to click continue. Now it's preparing the plan. The plan is ready, and if you want to make any changes to this, we can actually ask it to make certain changes, or if not, we can ask it to build. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this logo file that I have, and I'm going to tell it update the plan to use this logo. Okay, the plan is rebuilt here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on build. What happens after you click start, the build process will complete all these to-dos. Also, it is going to ask me certain questions or some permissions to some certain commands and things like that. It is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes, so we will see what goes on now. Sometimes what happens is now it has stopped at this particular position. I am going to ask it, shall we move ahead with the development? Now, as you can see, the development is complete here. Many new files have been created. I can see 20 new files here, and if I look at the blog, it has been created here with the logo and fonts colors as per my brand guidelines. However, there are no posts yet, so I am going to ask cursor in same chat now, create 6 posts. I am going to ask it to create post for me as well. So in the development phase, we can actually go ahead and see how the posts are actually looking. So it is asking me create 6 MDX. I am going to ask it to create 6 MDX posts. Use sensible Vibeship topics. So let's see what posts it builds. It can ask you some permissions regarding creating new folder or something like that. Otherwise, as you can see, it has already started writing the post. The posts are now added here. So what I can do is I can see whether they are coming on the website. Unfortunately, no. So one thing that we can do is we can stop the server by pressing Ctrl+C and then again running npm run dev. So let's see if that brings our blog post here. So the server is starting. Okay, now let's refresh. Yeah, as you can see, the posts are here. Some of the things are not loading here, but that's all right. That's part of our debugging, and you can ask cursor to make certain changes and add any features or whatever you want to do. So let's see if I click this particular post. Let's see if a new post is opening. And as you can see, the new post is opening here. And if I click RSS here, it should open RSS feed as well, which is essential for blog. Now, so this part is complete. Now what I am going to do is I am going to ask it to commit and push changes. Because we are not building a full-fledged blog portal here, I am building a basic blog site here, and then I am going to, in the next step, I am going to deploy it on Vercel and then connect my custom domain to it, all on the free plan. So let's see how we can do that. Before that, let's wait for the command to finish. We can now probably see all this code in our GitHub. So let me go back to GitHub's root directory. Let me refresh this, and as you can see, we are seeing added SEO-friendly blog scaffold, which is just being pushed now. So yeah, so we are done with this part. Now let me close this particular GitHub window. We don't need it anymore, and close some non-essential tabs. Yeah, let me go ahead with now Vercel.com. Vercel, you can create a free account on it. You can deploy many sites on it on a free tier, and for hobby sites, it's a perfect hosting. And if you are new to Vercel, you can just register your account and log in. Since I am already logged in, I am seeing this screen. Registration is fairly simple process. You can just go to Vercel.com and register as a user. Now I am going to click add new and click project. And since this is your first Vercel account, your Git repository might not be connected to it. So it will ask you to connect a Git repository, which is basically our account of github.com. So you connect it here and you will see various repositories that you have. Now here is the Vibeship blog entry that we have here. Now I am going to click import. I am not going to make any changes over here. I am just going to click deploy. Let's see what happens next. And our site is deployed here. I can continue to dashboard. Here is the domain that I am seeing. If I click on it, it should open my blog that we just deployed. Okay. Of course, you can make changes into it. It's very primitive. But to start with, we need some skeleton to work on. And it's always better to work on a skeleton, add features one after other than building a full-fledged application and working backwards to resolve the issues. So first step is done. We have connected, we have deployed it to Vercel, but the domain is vibeship-blog.vercel.app, which is not what we want. We want our custom domain to be connected on it. Now your domain can be on Namecheap, GoDaddy, or Cloudflare, or any domain provider for that matter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click domains here, and I'm going to click add existing. Now the domain that I'm going to add is blog.vibeship.club, and then save. The domain is added, but the verification is pending. Now the verification can be done with whatever your domain provider is. I'm going to click manual setup, and I need to add these two entries in my DNS. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in my Cloudflare, because my domain is in Cloudflare. Your domains can be in Namecheap, GoDaddy, as I said. I'm going to vibeship.club, then go to DNS on the left side, then records, and I'm going to add these records. The first record I'm going to add is actually a verification record, which is a txt record. This txt record, I'm going to copy this name, paste it here. TTL is 1 minute, and then I'm going to copy this record. I'm going to paste it in content and save. I'm going to add now another record, which is a CNAME record. This is a CNAME record. I'm going to copy this value directly because the name is blog. I can just type it out. I'm not going to use Cloudflare proxy, and I'm going to set TTL as 1, and now save. So let's see if Vercel has identified this domain. I can click refresh over here. So I think the txt record is yet to be updated. So let's wait for the verification to complete. And as you can see, it's now a valid configuration, and blog.vibeship.club is live. So that's how we went from a blank project. We uploaded some design guidelines, we asked it to prepare business logic, we asked it to prepare coding logic, rules basically that it can use and adhere to. So now, as you can see, this particular site is fairly using colors that are on my website. So this is how you can use design guidelines that you have and force cursor to use your rules. And that's why it's important to keep on updating the rules, keep checking whether they are in accordance to your business logic or not. The documents that I had shown earlier that contained the brand guidelines and the design guidelines, to prepare those two documents, I have created another document which contains a prompt. So on page 6, you can see this particular thing, copy and paste. So what you need to do, you need to just copy paste this in Claude. Now Claude will ask you certain questions. What is the brand name, what colors you are liking, what is the preference regarding the fonts, and it will create 2 Word documents. Now if you want to download this prompt and use this, you have to go to this site, which is vibeship.club/resources, and the link of this will be either in the first comment or in the description. So you just have to enter your name and email address and click send me the link. You should receive an email that contains this particular document, and then you can just copy that prompt and paste it on to your Claude to generate those 2 design documents, which you can ultimately upload in Cursor. Yeah, we did a lot of things. We started from scratch. Now we have a working blog which is deployed on our custom domain using Vercel, and we will be having more such videos, simple videos, not too technical, but how we can build certain things in less time. So stay tuned for the next video. See you next time.